Hi everyone, and welcome to The Wheelchair Activist. This is a podcast hosted by me, Emma Vogelmann, where I'm going to be interviewing some amazing unsung disabled heroes. I've become a very proud member of the disabled community, but I didn't have any disabled role models when I was growing up. I want this podcast to introduce you, whether you're disabled, non-disabled, or are somewhere in between. I want to show you some amazing disabled people who are achieving and succeeding and thriving in all different areas of life and work. I'm going to be asking some pretty big questions like, what does disability mean to you, and what was the biggest barrier you've had to overcome? So I thought it's only fair if I tell you all a little bit about me first. So I'm Emma, I'm nearly 28 years old, I have 2 beautiful dogs, and I have a condition called spinal muscular atrophy, and this has caused me to use an electric wheelchair since I was 4 years old. In 2009, I contracted the swine flu when I was living in Chicago, and that left me needing to use a ventilator through a tracheostomy. Now, I know you might be thinking, that's a lot of equipment for one person, but hey, it keeps me alive and keeps me doing the work that I love, which is activism. I first came across the term armchair activism back in 2019 when it was being criticized for not being real activism. Essentially, armchair activism is being vocal on social media about causes and campaigns, but not going out into the community to either volunteer your time or to physically lobby a politician. And as a disabled person and someone who loves a good Twitter rant, I was angry that this type of activism wasn't being seen as equal to, say, physically chaining yourself to the gates of Parliament. You'll soon learn that I'm a fairly dramatic person, but in all honesty, society creates so many barriers for disabled people to go out and do anything. So why was our contribution to causes that we care deeply about being undervalued just because it happens to be all online? And now, I didn't realize this at the time, but I started my career in disability as an armchair activist. While I was at university, I experienced discrimination from both the university administration and from my fellow students. This was the first time that I had ever not been able to do something in the same way as a non-disabled person purely because of my disability. One day I got so angry at the injustice of that I called my best friend to have a rant, and she told me that I should write it all down and try and get my experience published so that other people would know what was going on, and maybe, just maybe, that would make the university administration care. Now, spoiler alert, it didn't. But I did take her advice, and I ended up being published on the Huffington Post UK in 2016. I realized what an amazing platform the internet was for getting my story and my lived experience out in front of people that I would never be able to connect with in person. But I wasn't just doing it for myself, but for other disabled people who may not feel able to or feel safe to do the same. And it all sort of took off from there. Since then, I've worked with organizations like Muscular Dystrophy UK, Amnesty International, and Scope to raise the profile of issues facing the disabled community. And the next 6 years, I became someone who couldn't even call themselves disabled to someone who has literally branded themselves as a wheelchair activist. I've written policy reports and met with members of parliament, all from sitting at home on my laptop, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's not about how you do something, it's about the fact that you're trying to do something. So that's why I've created this podcast called The Wheelchair Activist. I want to shine a light on the amazing disabled community that I've now become a such proud member of. This podcast will share some of the work that I'm doing, but will also introduce you to some pretty amazing disabled people who are all trying to change the world in their own way. I can't wait to share their experiences with you, so please subscribe, follow us on all social media platforms, and maybe get a new role model. I can't wait for you to join us, and I will see you very soon.